video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers and or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Okay. You go first. This is new. Oh, he's prepared. Scene one, yeah. Hopefully it doesn't take any more than that. Oh, and I've got nothing.
I was wondering that. I was like, maybe I should snap it 3 times. I don't know how many times to snap this fucker.
Just close to.
They just do it once, right?
Yeah, just once, like close to your microphone. You got it. Yeah. This will be fun. This could be fun. Just creating our own ideas. I just haven't had time to. I literally have been racing to get Zach's dinner.
Folks, we're in the big leagues now, folks. Look at this. Ooh.
If it comes with a magnet eraser.
Yeah, actually, I found out a way to make that work. I actually threw it on my gun safe. Sticks right to it.
There you go.
Yeah,
it
works out. It does look like a little dog bone, though.
It does.
It's a little dog bone.
It's probably why Dozer was looking at it funny. Because his treats are not that much smaller than this.
Yeah, he says, that's for me, not for you, human.
Oh, man, that spoiled little shit.
What the hell's going on, man? What the hell's going on, everybody?
They're pissed off at me, Chris, because the quality of my video looks terrible right now. Sorry. I'm having technical difficulties, and I'm just going to use the webcam until I can figure out what's going on with my other camera. Well, folks, I'm sorry to interrupt you right now, but I had to get this off my chest. As you can see right now, this is the camera I've been using for every video podcast, and it's working fine. I had a major, major scare. The previous week, when Chris and I were recording our podcast, I forgot to turn the camera off. You see, the camera is actually behind my computer screen right now. And, well, for some reason, I forgot to turn it off. Turned everything else off. Don't do what I did, folks. Trust me. Just don't do it. Yeah, dummy batteries are great. They're fantastic. You can run your camera for hours and hours and hours. But that doesn't mean you can run it a whole entire week. Yeah, I couldn't understand it. I turned the camera on. Chris and I were getting ready to do, well, what you're about to see here. And it was telling me that I had 6% battery left. I'm like, wait a minute. I got a dummy battery in here. You can most likely find a dummy battery on Amazon. Basically, it replaces using, your typical battery. It's like what do you call it? ACD. Well, it's just basically a dummy battery. You plug it into your camera and outlet and ball. You get the idea. But don't leave it on all week. You could most likely destroy your camera. I mean, because some cameras are, well, I shouldn't say cameras. Some things work better than others. And this beast of a camera, this Canon 80D I've had, 6 or 7 years now. I mean, I just don't feel the need to replace it. Sure, it's not as clear as, like, say, a lot of Sony's. Chris's camera is fantastic. But you know what? I think it still works fantastic. And until it, really goes bye-bye, I'm going to use it until that time comes. I mean, why not? I'm not that attractive, so maybe some of the crystal clearness is not important right now. So, folks, learn from my mistake. Write yourself a note or whatever it takes to make sure that you turn everything off, because this stuff is way too expensive. And I want to apologize. I already noticed within the first couple of minutes, because I was using my webcam by just hitting the table. I noticed I was shaking the camera, and that kind of stuff just drives me nuts. So that being said, please, I know you've been watching us enough by now. Hit that subscribe button or download whatever, stream our podcast. We work hard. We're much better than most podcasters out there. We're a hell of a lot more entertaining. And Chris is a lot more intelligent than 98% of the podcasters out there. So already we're giving you a lot. I'll tell you what, if you don't start liking and subscribing to our podcast, Meet Us in the Man Cave, I'm not going to feed Dozer anymore. And he likes to eat. I like to eat. You could see it. But Dozer, he likes to eat. Right, Dozer? Right, Dozer? See, come here. Tell everyone here that you like to eat. I like to eat, everyone. Please subscribe to Miss the Man Cave. He can talk too. Well, let's get back to this podcast, the one that Chris and I was recording. Please support, folks. Dozer needs to eat. Good job. I think we got more subscribers, buddy.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what? Your audio sounds pristine. We'll just keep rolling with it.
There we go.
Man. I mean, it's fine.
Because this will matter on Spotify or Apple. YouTube.
That's right.
Yeah.
You guys don't even know what the fuck we're talking about. You're like, I don't get it. Get on with the show.
Yeah. All right, let's get on with the show. Chris, naturally, with the title of this video podcast, is it a violent nature that I got angry with my camera? No. It's still sitting there, but I think it has something to do with the film that just came out this weekend. Of course, by the time this...
Well, now, before we do that, are we going into to WTF?
Yes.
WTF you drinking, man?
I'm going to take it easy tonight.
You usually ask me. I'm going to ask you.
What the fuck am I drinking?
Sorry.
Oh, okay. What the fuck you drinking? All right, what the fuck am I drinking? I'm going to first of all start off by saying I'm just going with a beer tonight. A beer, not a sidekick. Because Chris and I have, he's got date night with his girls, so I'm going to make sure that I only have one drink, just to be on the safe side. So, what the fuck am I drinking?
Movie night.
That's right. Another 3 Floyds. Yes, what is this? Jinx Proof Lager. That's all I'm seeing right now. And I've been staring at a lot of light, so if I'm misreading it, I apologize. You know that little glow that follows you wherever you go? Yeah, it's not normal, by the way. It's just 3 Floyds, Jinx Proof, and I hope it's tasty. If not, I'll just complain about it. Or drink it, then complain about it later.
You know what I wonder? You know, you have some beer companies, and you're like, how the fuck did they end up with that name? 3 Floyds. What does that... I wonder if they have an explanation for that name.
I would hope that there's 3 individuals there that their name is Floyd. I've worked at a place many moons ago where there were nine individuals there that their names was James. They didn't want to go with Jim or Jamie. They all insisted upon James. Yeah, that was a bitch. So that's probably why they went with 3 Floyds, because there's 3 Elrods that work there.
The simplest is usually the correct answer, right?
That's right. I'm trying to do this without really screwing anything up. I'm drinking out of 1. Chris gave me 3 more of these Meet Us in the Man Cave glasses. They need to be washed. So that's how new they are, folks. Oh, you know this.
Fresh out the box, baby.
This smells like a light beer. You know what I mean? It just smells light. Tastes like a light.
Float like a butterfly.
It takes me back to like an old Michelob. It does. It reminds me of a Michelob.
Oh. Hey, you know who'd like to hear that? Mr. Morgan.
Yeah. And I'm not...
Mr. Michelob there.
This is like old school. It's like very stout Michelob. That's what I'm... Yeah. It doesn't have a very strong aroma at all. But yeah, that's what I would say. It's not a Michelob Light. It's funny. It looks like a light IPA, but it doesn't taste like a. It reminds me of an old school Michelob, like one of the original flavors.
Hell yeah, very nice.
No sidekicks.
Mine is nothing new. That I'm of the same mindset. You know, I don't want to be, smelling weird or going in drunk off my ass or something like that. It's movie night with the girls, so they've never seen A Quiet Place, so I think it's a perfect time to watch that.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a good
So
one.
mine is just tried and true FML. It's just Fear Movie Lions. It's just a good solid beer. I want to get the pour going for you guys.
Let's make sure we
Make sure to take your glass, everybody.
make sure we get a good cut. It makes audio. Take 1. Sounds funny.
We can make a whole make a whole episode about those things.
You know, and down the road, that is going to be perfect, and I'll explain to you when off the air. Not now, but in the future when it matters. So you've had
Gotcha.
What is it? FML, fuck me. What was it again?
Fuck my life. No, this one, Fear Movie Lions.
Okay. I am determined. I think on a vacation, I'm going to just go to different places. Just see what I can find. So yeah.
No, I just like it. It's good beer. You brought me my first one, and ever since then, I've been trying to find it. And found it again, and now it's just a good go-to.
And I think we've had 3 weeks in a row where we've had winners when it comes to these beers. It seems like every beer we've had
been longer.
Yeah, I've been enjoying the flavor on these. Let's say the month of May. No doubt about it.
I feel like I've liked every beer since Blinded by the Light, I forget the Blinding Light Show. Blinding Light Show, that's it.
There's one that
I'll get it one of these times.
There's one particular beer that you have there now. I hope I get a chance to see you enjoy it during a podcast. Folks, I went over to Chris's house here a little bit ago, and I brought him a couple that I've already done on a previous podcast. And I'm curious to know, not tonight. No, he promised his daughters, and I'm sticking. I've got to practice. You see what's behind me now. I've got this new head and cabinet with this amplifier, and I promised myself I was going to focus more on practicing on that tomorrow. Plus, I've got to edit on some podcast. But I am curious.
If you have B-rolls of that, you should show that thing off. That thing's pretty sick, man. I love how it's white and it masks the masks. It matches the mask. I mean, yeah, it's good stuff.
Ironically, with this webcam, I can't enjoy it it doesn't matter. Because I have my son this weekend, I can't really enjoy this amplifier because you could play it down low, but there's certain boosts and holy shit. I don't know if I want this sitting next to that glass detop. It's a powerful bitch.
You're gonna be like the guy in the RCA where he's sitting in the chair and he's got those speakers and they're just blasting his face off. You're gonna be the RCA guy.
I'm looking over to that fridge, like I could see that beer. And damn it, let me grab it real quick so I don't forget later. Here it is. So hopefully you could hold on to one of them during a what the fuck are you drinking in the near future? Because I don't think you've had one of these yet.
Mm-hmm.
So
the Turbo Reaper or something like
exactly.
that. I almost grabbed it, but then I was like, nah, FML sounds good right now.
My gut tells me you're going to enjoy that, but you know what? You could lie to us on one of our podcasts, like, no, I've never had one yet, and that's what the fuck I'm drinking. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. I think everybody out there enjoys their beers and knows what the fuck I'm talking about.
That's fair.
Well, Chris, we're enjoying our beers. Maybe there's some things that we may have enjoyed or not enjoyed recently, and let's get right into it. I think we should. We owe it to your daughters.
Oh, buddy. In a Violent Nature.
Now, before you get into it, I was going to set it up a little bit, but I don't have enough time.
Okay, go for it.
Violent Nature, you and I, and of course our guest, our good friend Jake, we watched a trailer on that. If I can remember, I'll put the card up on there, and then you could go watch the trailer if you haven't seen it yet. There's the best way to set it up. And Chris, what were your thoughts then when we watched that trailer about a month ago? Maybe a little bit longer than that.
I was very excited. I mean, no, not mincing any words. I was very excited. It was had a lot of promise for me. I was sold. It was something that I thought we were about to get like an amazing prospect for a film right there. I thought, I was sold. It looked great. They did it. Bravo on that trailer. They did a great job on that trailer.
Yeah, they did. I totally agree. I think even Jake was so highly impressed with the trailer. It was just, it felt like we were going to see something original. There's no doubt about it. All right. I'm going to play like I was born yesterday. When you were watching that trailer, does it remind you of any slasher films from back, like characters, iconic characters?
Absolutely. Everybody knows Jason. It was like it looked like it was just going to be a day in the life of Jason. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, the first time I watched that trailer, I think anybody felt, is going to feel the same way. And one thing I did appreciate about that trailer, and we'll get into it and sharing our thoughts. By the way, if you have not seen this film, I think Chris and I are safely going to give you some fucking spoilers. So if you don't like spoilers, you may not want to watch this. But if you want to hear our perspectives on it, you might want to stick around because, it's your choice.
If not, leave now, guys.
Yeah.
Trust it's fine. Leave now.
Yeah. So there we go. We've got vibes of Jason. When you watch the trailer, you just can't help it. I mean, it's there's no doubt about it. You get that what seems like Camp Crystal Lake vibe and all that. This film was up in Canada.
Oh yeah.
At first, at one time, I'm like, I wonder where this was shot at. Well, at one point in the movie, you get to see some tags on a vehicle, and there's good old Canadian tags on the truck. So there you go.
Oh hell yeah! I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, it looks like I was going to prepare, but I just didn't have time. I'm just going to go with what I thought as Chris and I and his wife and Zach went to go watch this film the other night. It looks like it was shot in 35 millimeter film. I could be wrong, but that's what it reminded me of. And
you want to start with good first?
Might as well. Go. Why don't you take? You know what? Take it away, my friend.
I don't want to sit here and pick it apart. I don't want to sit here and do that. I don't want to sit here and be negative on things. There were several aspects of the film that I definitely liked. I liked the way it was shot. I liked the atmosphere. I loved the landscape. I liked a lot of the lake scenes. Even the scenes like hell, it wasn't even like spectacular viewing angles or something like that, but just where it's over his head, just him walking himself. I mean, I thought all that was done very well, very respectful. There's an air of mystery there for a bit. I like the way they handled a lot of that, like who is Johnny, what makes Johnny tick, like what sets Johnny off, this, that, and the other. When it was just over his shoulder, I thought all that was done great. I mean, because we don't really, there's something about it being over their shoulder or behind their back to where you can have your imagination run wild and you can picture him to look like whatever you want him to look like. You don't have to have questions answered for you. You don't need to know, what makes this guy tick. You can come up with any of your answers yourself. It's theater of the mind. I thought they nailed that. I thought they did that very well up until they didn't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you wanna
which up until they didn't.
Yeah.
And then, when it was yeah. They eventually we're definitely going to get into spoiler territory.
I was gonna say
they eventually, show the face.
Yeah.
And a lot of the mystery, a lot of everything disappeared real fast. And it kind of took a turn for the movie right then.
Yeah.
It was like, oh fuck guys, why'd you do that? That bummed me out, but we'll get into that in the negative aspects when we start to critique stuff. But the positive, I liked how there wasn't no really, yeah, we knew his motive, but we didn't know like a rhyme or a reason really. So I liked that they kept that. It felt like, I think either you said it or we were talking about it, one or the other, but this movie felt like an amalgamation. It felt like a compilation of, they took like, oh, I like this about Jason. Oh, I like this about Michael. Oh, I like this about Leatherface. I like this, and it felt like they kind of mashed it up. It felt like a mashup, and I liked that aspect too, because it's not exactly so much original, but it's just it's just something you wasn't completely predictable, I guess.
You start off in more or less the beginning. It just kind of starts off in a bang, I guess you could say. When he mentions Johnny, at first you don't know if it's an urban legend or not about this let's just say a young man that was had mental disabilities. I'm trying to be kind about this right now. And apparently, without giving away too much, there's this locket, a gold chain with this locket. Apparently, his mother had given to him, something like that. And it's actually hanging from his grave. And there's not really much there because the way you're seeing it, sitting either at home eventually or in the audience, you're just getting a perspective of as if the camera was laying on the ground. And then you hear two guys naturally just going through what we find out was in a cemetery. And the guy grabs this locket. And from there, that's where you really get a Jason vibe, because as soon as they start walking away, you start hearing what sounds like, here comes this creature coming from out of its grave. Sure shit, that's what it was. Johnny, he's pissed off. You took his locket. And it goes from there. You get this POV. Actually, this is what's different from any other horror film that I've seen. Okay, Black Christmas, really kind of what started the whole POV thing. The killer, you get his perspective before Halloween. But this, you get like the cameraman is behind the killer, and you see that in the trailers. Now, I want to say something real quick before I forget. You know as well as I do, Chris, this movie is definitely not for these particular times, because everything is, come on, I got to go. You go to the drive-thru at any fast food joint. If you're the only car there, you're like, well, why the fuck isn't my food ready? Come on, I got to go. Nobody has patience. That's why TikTok is so popular, because you can watch a video in 10 seconds. This movie, it's But the one thing I love about that, Chris, is like you said, the theater of the mind. You kind of like, okay, is there something that's going to happen right now? Is there something? I mean, you kind of like anticipation. What's going to happen? I mean, they just kind of they teased your mind a little bit. It's just a guy, your cameraman, that's following the killer. You're getting beautiful shots, like Chris said, but it's like you're waiting for something to happen, and you're waiting and you're waiting.
Yeah, because it's usually like we're watching our central star or something like that, and the killer's in the background. No, this is kind of flipped. This is the actual, like, right behind the killer, and then it's like, okay, where's he gonna go? Who's gonna come up on next? I like that.
It's like you get the behind the scenes of what the killer. Think of like, okay, I will go Friday the 13th, like say part 3 when Jason's out there, and I know this goes pretty much with all the other Friday the 13th, but all the people, all the teenagers are in their cabins, and Jason's out there. You just don't really see that. Every once in a while, you'll see over the shoulder, but with this, it's like, Chris, you're better at this than I am when it comes to video games. It kind of and maybe I'm giving a poor analogy, but it's almost like you are numb to controlling the killer that's walking towards its victims. If that makes any sense. Like, you can't really control him, but that's how much of a view you have of the bad guy, the slasher.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're really getting behind. It's like you're getting that angle of, like what was it like for Jason when he was out there, like on the cabins, when he's watching all these people and he's listening into all the conversations. That's what this movie kind of gave you. Well, at least that's what I was feeling last night when we were watching this. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah. Behind the scenes.
Yeah, for sure. It was trying to figure out, what makes him tick, what's so important about this damn fucking locket. It was trying to figure out his motive. I like the way they played with certain things, and they kept the plot simple.
Yeah, they did.
they didn't try to make him a complex character. They didn't try to make nothing happen. They gave you your basic, camp counselors that were kind of just idiots, and they just gave you a simple villain that had a not so much a straight line from point A to point B, but you knew, he's got one goal in mind.
Yeah.
It's nothing complex.
Now, I do recall, without saying too much, even though we're pretty much giving it away, but there is a scene where I even whispered over to Chris, I'm like, this kind of reminds me of Reservoir Dogs, where we'll say the young adults are sitting there, and you have one who's telling the story. And of course, it seems like your typical scary story. You have everybody sitting around a campfire, like, hey, let's tell some ghost stories. But of course, it starts off with something like, hey, did you ever hear about the murders that was at that location? And then you have an individual.
I thought that was awful.
Yeah.
It was such a bad story.
And the thing of it is, as he's coming now, before he tells that story, as we're talking about the slasher, Johnny, right? You know that he's standing right behind these individuals. And I'm actually, as the camera's going around, and if you've ever seen Reservoir Dogs, pretty much in the beginning, where you have, Mr. Blonde, Mr. White, Mr. Pink, where they're all sitting in the cafeteria, and Quentin Tarantino's telling his, the Madonna, like a virgin story, and the camera's going around. That's what I couldn't help but think, like, this is reminding me of Reservoir Dogs right now. Not as, I'm going to be brilliant, not as good as Quentin Tarantino's, but it's still, you can't help, for me, I couldn't help but think of that scene there.
Sure.
But what did you think? And I want to ask you this because we didn't talk about it. When the girl talks about, now this, of course, amazing lighting with the campfire, she has all her friends so they could do a selfie. They give you, the viewer, enough time to realize there's something in the background, but you really have to, because it's dark.
It's dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, what are your thoughts on that? I know it's a very simple, should there be more to this question, but what do you think? Should have done anything with that? Should we have seen the video, or the photo? I mean, what are your thoughts?
They did that well because it was honestly like Johnny's face kind of blended in with the trees, and the way they played with the fire being at the forefront there, it was almost like a the blue light on Michael's face or something like that when he's coming out of the closet. It was kind of reminiscent of that. That was cool. And then I liked the fact when they dumped their beer on the fire, like his face just it popped as soon as that. Yeah, as soon as the forefront was gone, the forefront light, it faded away, and you could just tell his face was right there. And you wanted the camp counselors like turn around, or camp counselors, sorry, what are they exactly like? They're just taking a little.
It's like a group of
trip,
friends. Yeah, it's your typical. Yeah. We call them camp counselors.
I keep calling them camp.
You can't help. You can't help
keep
it.
doing that. But no, it's like you wanted them, because once the fire went out, it was so fucking obvious. His face is right there. And it's just like, oh, fuck, turn around. I thought they did that well. Yes.
Which, by the way, folks, if you're going to put out a fire, don't pour your beer in it. That's alcohol abuse right there. Simple alcohol abuse. You don't just, well, we're done talking now, let's just throw our beer. No, that's bad call there.
Well, they probably were drinking Bud Light.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's all good.
Let's see. What else can I share that I thought was, like Chris said, you could see some. Go ahead.
Okay, I got one for you.
Go ahead.
One of the parts that I liked, towards the end there, when they were taken, after she had somehow fucking went through this forest and she was running from Johnny or whatever.
Yeah.
Somehow she impaled herself with a stick, whatever the fuck that was. I felt like I was in a dream right there.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened to her, but after that, when she's got the lady, and it's almost Texas Chainsaw reminiscent, and they're driving off and stuff like that. There's one scene where she it takes a close up of her face, and then she's just looking into the forest there. It was probably it felt like 2 minutes
Mm-hmm.
of just that one like long exposure scene. I was waiting for something to jump
Yeah,
out.
I was too.
I did like how they did that.
And
I did like how they did that.
yeah, if it wasn't for what we were watching for the prior 2 hours, you probably wouldn't have made any sense because we already talked about Chris. I tell you, you have the slasher Johnny walking, and I said something about this is it for today's because the movie I didn't say it paces itself on each scene. It takes its sweet ass time. Sometimes it goes from one cut to another of Johnny walking, and I'm like, dear Lord, it's like this guy likes to walk a lot, and he doesn't. And when he doesn't walk like anybody else, your average person, man or woman. His arms aren't swaying. His arms aren't walking. He just walks with his arms straight. And I'm thinking that has to be exhausting. I mean, because if you think about it, folks, when you're walking, if you're capable of walking, I apologize if you're, not able to, but if you're capable of walking, you'll notice your arms are swinging. They're going in motion with your legs. Nope, his is just, it's just nothing. And I thought that was interesting when Chris was talking about there towards the end. One thing I thought about Chris, and I was hoping to share it, and I'm doing it now. I didn't want to, after the movie. You notice that every time that we had our slasher where he's going from point A to B to C to D, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, when it's just you and him, there's really no sound. Even the nature itself, there's really no sound. There's not an overzealous parts of, like, say, birds, nature itself. It's just his footsteps. But then when we get to that girl, let's say how could I put it? You have I guess you could say the last group of the young adults. When she's running away from him, all of a sudden you can hear everything. It's almost like, okay, now we're in the real world. Now we're not in Johnny's head. We're inside her head where she's hearing everything because she's, of course, freaking out of what she just witnessed. In other words, extremely brutal beating of some guys. I mean, he turns it into, there's cans of tomatoes. This guy's head doesn't even exist as a can of tomatoes anymore. But she's running and you hear everything. Yeah. And it's overdone. It's like, God damn, these are, I said it last night. I'm saying this just reminds me of a college film. It's just like, you gotta take some mushrooms, acid to understand some of the stuff that's going on in this film. But I don't know. That's what I was thinking.
There were some scenes that felt very, very Blair Witch-esque.
Yeah.
Like there was some of that in there. The scene you're talking about, the only thing I could pull out of that is they were trying to convey that. First of all, no killer, I don't care who they are, is gonna fucking. I don't think they're gonna whack a dude that many fucking times. I mean, he was at it for probably 20 fucking minutes there.
I said the movie.
It was overkill.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's going to lead into what do you think? Some of the negatives.
Negatives.
Yeah.
No, where I was going with that is just what they were trying to get across there. I get it. They were definitely wanting to make it, at least in my head, they wanted to make it that she was pretty much going in circles. She would get away, and then she would come back, and it was like she would hear the pounding again.
Yeah.
And she did that probably 5 or 6 times. She was obviously running in circles. Yeah. And Johnny didn't move. So at that point, I'm like, bitch, look up. Fucking find a point. Find a star. Follow that star. Like, do something. Fuck. You're just running in circles. That shit is wearing me out.
Well, folks, I'm going to have another beer. I am going to get into what I don't want to put it down, but the cons. And I'm going to open a beer real quick.
The cons are going to be bigger. I think.
You just finished or listening to your favorite podcast, Meet Us in the Man Cave, and you've asked yourself that question once again. Do I enjoy a new challenge? Well, thanks to our good friends at you could start speaking in a new language in 3 weeks. So come on, what's stopping you?
Question. Can I do it with my butt cheeks?
Imagine you're over in France and you have a very important business meeting and you bump into your cousin Stacy and you want to impress her with just one simple word. Bonjour. In 2 weeks, you're having a very important spaghetti party and all your Italian friends are going to be over. They're impressed with your spaghetti, but could you imagine how more impressed they will be by just simply shouting out, CIO? Your whole life, you've put it off, and it's finally come to the point where you're over in Germany and you're meeting your grandparents. Do you want to impress them by the fact that you could just simply go up to them and say, hello? Last but certainly not least, you are stuck in a country where they only speak Spanish and you're looking for a speedway. Hey, there's a complete stranger. Maybe I'll ask them. Ho, LA? Thanks to Meet Us in the Man Cave and our good friends at Baby Bella, they're going to help you speak a language in just 3 weeks. Are you still looking for that challenge? What's stopping you?
Only available at Bubba.
I'll just stick with that con there. And then, of course, Chris,
You go first. You go first since I went first last time.
we'll go with that particular con. I mean, yes, it is a slasher film. And it's... at one point, Chris could tell you this right now. There was one particular scene. I'm laughing my ass off, and there's nobody else in the theater laughing. I'm either the one that's really disturbed, or I'm like thinking, "Come on, this is fucking funny." But
No, so I'm really good at just keeping a small laughter. But oh no, I was laughing the whole fucking time.
Yeah, what Chris was talking about.
Oh Lord,
okay. Actually, this isn't the same scene. This is going to get into the cons. When it comes to his victims, other than one or two, technically, let's put it this way. This was definitely a very low budget film. They didn't have, there was a budget that was so small, they didn't really hire any actors, or they were, these were kids that were wanting to be actors. They're still hoping to be actors. This was their first film. And when they were being approached by Johnny, and if you watch this film, you'll see what I'm talking about here. They just had really no reaction, or either that they did that on purpose. It's like, you know what? It's maybe they realized we can't get it. Let's just do it with the rest of, with certain victims. Cause it's kind of like, oh, I mean, I know it's not that simple, but you don't see defense. Like, okay, Chris, I'll talk about where he picks up a stone and he's there's one of his victims is laying on, which I like the shot they did because it reminded me of Alfred Hitchcock. You had a camera from up above, and it's following him.
Bird's eye view.
Yeah, it was that I loved. But then one of the guys he's just laying on the ground. I mean, he's been traumatized somewhat, but the reality of it is, that's right. He had an axe in his leg, so he couldn't run as well. Duh. But this guy, Johnny, who's got this stone, you could tell what he's going to do. He's going to throw on the guys, and the guy doesn't even take his arms to go like this. He just lays there and kind of like.
They stayed on the ground. He was just like this.
I'm thinking.
Okay, I got one for you.
Okay.
The fucking blonde girl, the yoga girl.
Yeah.
What in the hell was that? What the fuck was going on
my
there?
Ass off.
That bitch, literally. I mean, she ran to the edge, to the cliff, or whatever. I mean, he punched her through the stomach. Punched her through the fucking stomach. Didn't make a sound. She turned around, looked at him. Didn't make a sound. He pulled the chains through her guts. Didn't make a sound. He took the hook. He put the hook through her fucking head. Didn't make a sound. He then turned her around again and started to pull the chain in her head through her own intestines. Didn't make a single sound. I'm sitting there the whole time like, what the fuck is going on? She didn't even like turn around and like make a face, a yell, a nothing. Like, what was that?
Yeah.
That shit was so outlandish. It was almost cartoonish.
Yeah.
That fucking, oh man.
It was definitely cartoonish. There's no doubt about it. Of course, a victim. She's running at one point from Johnny. She's running. She gets to the edge of the cliff. It's that intense. It's about, I don't know, let's say a 500-foot drop, whatever. It's fucking deep. Yeah, Chris, like what Chris is saying, she just basically turns around. Now, this guy, whether he has this ridiculous mask on at this point or not, it doesn't matter. It's going to be dramatic. In real life. Yeah, she does. Like Chris, she turns around. She's just, it's kind of like this.
It's like she like met, like,
that's it.
Saw an old friend or something.
It's not like, oh shit, that would have been better. Even that was terrible. It literally was like,
made no sense.
And he turns her into a human pretzel. I mean, he could have easily just pushed her off the cliff. Boom, that's it. Because they did. Eventually, he does, by the way, push her off the cliff after he turns her into a human pretzel. It was. I
got nothing.
It was hysterical.
Then the dude with the fucking behind the tree. And I forget the tool he used, but he cut half of his head off right at the mouth.
Yeah. I couldn't.
I'm sorry, but the way he was carrying that dude, the way he was carrying homie around is so fucking disrespectful. But it was literally had his hand like inside of his throat and was just carrying him around with one hand. And then he had his head in the other hand.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
He's dragging his body, holding onto his spine. Yeah. And you think of it as, that's where it makes me think of a video game, for a violent video game. Here you have a bad guy who's carrying one of the, it's okay. This is where it makes me think of another Friday the 13th, where the guy's basically has his back up against the tree and Johnny takes that, tool where it more or less, like Chris said, it comes up right here. Clean off. Just
he didn't make a sound either.
Yeah. And
he just fucking took it. He was like, oh hell yeah, I'm about this. and then like, bro, he had plenty of time. He could have made a fucking sound. He didn't. He just fucking ate that whole decapitation.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, nothing. No gagging, nothing. Just, and he drags like his disrespect, just dragging his body. And but that's just it. He does that. The next scene, he's taking the body. Now, here we go once again. Okay. Now let's say Michael Myers. After he kills someone, we don't normally get to see, sometimes we get to see the trick or the treat, like we've seen it through so many years where he's killed someone and like he's hung the body up on the wall with the sheet. There's always been these little Easter eggs and stuff that Myers done, some sick stuff. But here you get I cut the guy's cherry off. I'm dragging him in one hand, carrying by the torso and his part of his head on the other. And he goes to that fire station, which you learn about during the, surround sound of storytelling time of, what this place is all about. And here's the thing I think is pretty funny. Naturally, of course, it's this like ranger fires, whatever. It's a building. Okay. Well, just a building. And there's glass, there's doors. You got a roof. So how does he get in there? I left my ass off.
I don't even want to. Please.
I thought I would just let you. He takes that one part of the head that's remaining and he just throws it just over the window, and it lands perfectly where, of course, it would make sense because at this point, your head's just flat. Of course,
it lands upright.
Yeah, it lands upright. So that's how it gets in. He could have picked up another one of his tools, an axe or something, or let's face it, Johnny's powerful enough to punch a hole right through your gut. No, he didn't want to get cut from the glass. No, he just, I already got my hand. throws half the head through the window. And then
Yeah, it's the same fucking thing. It's the same thing when he gets to the helmet and all his goodies inside there. He fucking takes the body and he just chucks it. Oh man.
it was
I swear, part of this almost felt like Terrifier.
yeah. And you know what?
Honestly.
To give credit where credit's due, I think folks don't tell right now. I think Terrifier and Terrifier 2 is better than Violent Nature.
Oh, much better.
The Mask, as we all know, we typically have masks. Our slashers have masks. When that mask came on, when you get a view finally of a frontal view at this point of Johnny, because he's got a mask to cover his face at this point. You already know my thoughts on this. I keep on bumping this laptop and the camera's shaking, but you already know my thoughts on this, Chris.
I mean, I get the whole thing that they were going for, and it's a little bit unique, but that thing was fucking god awful.
Yeah.
All I kept thinking, I'd nudge you every once in a while, and I'd be like, "Dude, he looks like the Zodiac."
Yeah. But the mask is too big. The proportion was just, yeah. It gives you that Zodiac. I thought of a character from The Simpsons. So Trick or Treat Studios, aka Tots. We know how you love to get your copyrights on every mask out there. So if you want to go ahead and create this mask, go for it. It's waiting for you there, Zephyro.
Just buy a bunch of old ass firefighter hats.
Yeah.
Masks, I guess.
It's like early 1900s. I mean, this thing is silly looking. It looks like an oxygen. It really does. I personally, as I was going to like read a little bit about what this movie is, and the poster, I'll tell you what, the poster makes it almost look like Jason Sackhead or whatever. It just looks proportionally right. But then when you see it in the film, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? This is from
the back.
It looked like it was comical.
From the back, look okay, but when you see it from the front, oh man, it's like, oh god, guys, come on,
and
this is rough. It's bug eyes and shit. Like, damn.
Now, all of us Meyer fans out there, we all know that Michael got victimized from a coat hanger in that left eye, right? And as, of course, here we have our, last trilogy, which they pretty much made it very clear that Michael that left eye was dead. You couldn't see out of that. I mean, Michael never told us, but get the idea. That eye is no good. So Chris talked about something that I totally agree. I think we were both like, even at one point, I don't know if Chris, if you heard me, like, oh, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. See, I'll go back just a little bit when we're going through this circle of the story time, when Johnny, being basically mentally challenged, he's still a young boy at heart. He was hoping to have toys. Sorry.
I didn't like that. I didn't like the angle either. And neither did Natalie. I didn't like that.
I didn't either.
Throwing those labels at it felt uncomfortable, honestly.
I mean, if we're going to go there, then why can't we have a transgender that got pissed off? If you're going to get pissed off at me, I don't care. I don't care. Genders got feelings too, right? I said genders, but yeah, I didn't like that either, but they decided to go that route. Well, there's one scene where I want to say a couple arguing. I don't know. Car keys thrown, in other words, and then here's Johnny the Feet.
Yes.
And you see the car keys, and then at the end of the car keys,
here's where everything went to shit.
Yeah. There was a car, like a little toy car, and that kind of stopped Johnny in his tracks. In other words, he sees a toy. And that he's wearing the mask, by the way, at this time, this firefighter's old mask. So he decides, for the very first time, as we see as the viewer, he takes this mask off and he sits down. I mean, he's been walking hundreds of miles at this point, but he sits down because he's got a toy. And there's when you start to get that perspective. Oh no, because you're giving here it is in his hands. So say this is the keys of the car, and it's very blurry on his face. And it's like, I'm thinking, please, please, please don't show us, don't show us, don't show us. Sure as shit. Chris already told you.
Fucking caught in 4K, fucking spectacular viewing angle. Let's zoom right in on his face and fucking ruin everything.
Yep.
Because now you're not sitting there thinking there's no more theater of the mind. There's no more you can play with it anymore. He can be whatever devilish, like ghoulish creature you want him to be. He can be the epitome of it, but can't do that no more because now he's, you just see him and he's like he's a kid basically.
Yep.
I mean, it fucks. Oh man, I hated that.
Granted, his face is pretty morbid. Jason sort of. I mean, he has. It's. When I talk about the eyes, the dead eyes, both his eyes look dead, which doesn't make any sense. You can barely see out of that mask and blah blah blah. But you know what? That's being very critical. But that's what we do. And since I'm going to be critical, we don't look at his face. That's a rule. You just don't show the face. I mean, come on, Halloween fans. I mean, there's so many people that were being critical when you had James Ducournau playing Michael Myers, but they showed us way too much of his face, and so we were pissed. Now you get at least 2 minutes of looking at this guy. I mean,
yeah, they could have kept it blurry, and I think I would have been okay.
Yeah, there was no need to see his face,
even though I didn't like that, even the blurry part. Like, don't do that. Just keep the thing you got going. Keep it behind him the entire time. That's fantastic. That's a fantastic angle.
Yeah.
You don't even have to worry about the mask at that point. They didn't have to show the front of the mask. They didn't have to show none of it.
And something I want to bring up, Chris, I noticed it while we were watching this film, and I couldn't help but notice. And I think it was the first time we really got a good view of the back of his head. It looked like there was a metal plate. Yeah, folks, this kid, Johnny, is obviously a zombie at some point. Yeah, it looked like there was a metal plate back here. Because you got some flesh, a flesh wound, and underneath that, like, think a Terminator.
I couldn't tell if that was I couldn't tell if it was like rotted brain.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell what the hell it was.
To me, it almost looked like metal. It's hard to say. I mean, this film tried everything in its power to keep it a mystery, but we've already shared enough spoilers to you that there's really not much mystery about him. Yeah, it's your typical, as we all know, Jason keeps on coming back. Well, at least the people that own the movie won't let him come back. But as a fan's perspective, Jason always comes back. This guy, you can't kill him in a sense. Apparently, the only place where his body could be kept.
I was just going to bring up, I did like the part, if you notice, when he's being watched, like they shot him several times in the movie, but when he knows he's being watched, he will not breathe.
Yeah.
They had one good angle. It was before he did his sit up, aka kind of copying off Michael there, but you could see his chest. It was not rising and falling. He didn't breathe. And then as soon as the people turned, he started breathing again. I liked that part. That was interesting.
Yeah, it gave you it just gave you the ooh, that kind of which makes you wonder if he's able to breathe on land, how does he handle going underwater?
Do you think, because I think he walked on the floor.
You can't help but think that, because he's walking throughout the whole entire movie, other than that one time that he sits down to pick up a car toy. Yeah, it's interesting. You know what?
It's fucking hilarious. That's
funny. Yeah, it's the guy. I know it's like I don't want to give anything away. There's not much to say. The guy gets into the lake. I mean, he literally walks into the lake to the point where he's just. His body doesn't show that he's walking, and then he dives. It just do, and then the victim is on the other side of the lake, and you are getting that point of view where she's 200 yards away at this point.
Sure.
And
every bit.
And they take their time. They take their time because it's going to take Johnny a while to get from one side to the other. And
I mean, he's got to walk through a lot of shit down there, a bunch of moss and fucking rocks, and
either he could hold his breath for 10 minutes but then again, he's not alive because there's only one place that they could bury him. And that was at, I want to say at that firehouse, and he's at peace with his mother. The last thing that his mother gave him was that gold little necklace or whatever. It's just, every horror film has its reasons for why the bad guy does what they do. And this was a gold necklace that somebody had stolen. And
I don't. Did it feel resolved for you? Did anything feel resolved?
No. It was kind of like I saw, and what did I see? A college B film that did everything it could to they had an idea, and I appreciated their idea. I liked that they didn't try to be like everybody else, but it just kind of got flat. I think, Chris, you said it last night. The monologue, there was just nothing there.
Oh my God. I think there was 2 characters in the entire movie. There was no like really dialogue. There was just one. There was like 2 monologues. And they were maybe like, a couple minutes each. One of them was the lady in the truck, and the other was the guy at the campfire.
That was odd. I mean, it's almost like they were trying to find a way to tell a story there. The way she was.
That was fucking real weird.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was at least 5 minutes long. So let's say you got the one girl, the survivor, whatever, who gets away. So she gets in the truck, and the woman's talking to her, nice lady, and she's driving for a good 5 minutes, it seems. And then it gets to that point what Chris was talking about there towards the end, which is it wasn't, because you get the perspective of her staring into this, where they're just driving along this forest in Canada, and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And I'm looking to see something from the bottom, like if Johnny had to come up a hill.
Yeah. Same.
And I think that's when it goes to the credits. And I think that was the only time you had any music.
Well, they did flash back to that gas canister.
Oh, that's right.
Because that's what she put the necklace on, and it was gone.
And that's
hinting to the fact that he, of course, got his necklace back, and now all is right in the universe.
Yeah,
which is fucking.
It
fell flat. It seemed like they were trying to be abstract.
Yeah,
if that's the right word for it, like abstract, and they were really trying to like lead you in another place with that conversation in the truck.
Yeah, because everything around the two,
but it just fell flat.
Yeah, everything, even the visuals. You have 3 camera angles. You have your camera typically on the hood, and then you have a pan so that you have left and right. And whenever you'd have a camera angle that's looking on the passenger, you're just seeing a filter of where it's blurring out the background. Same thing with the driver. It's like they were trying to bokeh everything around. Like, why? What's the point? It's dreamy. It's kind of, abstract. It's just.
It felt like they were just punching above their weight limit there. It felt like they were like throwing all these crazy punches and trying to be, a great filmmaker. And it was just like, what are we doing right now? This is fucking weird.
Yeah. So as I'm looking at the time here, Chris, I wish I had that chart in front of me. You came up with it. We haven't discussed it since season 1, and I think I have it saved somewhere. Sadly, I know where I have it. It's on my external hard drive because I had saved it there.
I wouldn't even call this like purchase worthy. I wouldn't really. it was cool for a Saturday night, like let's go to a movie with friends
Yeah.
and see a slasher. But this is not this ain't it, bro.
Yeah,
This ain't it.
it's definitely a serious B horror film. I wish the director luck, the writers luck. Maybe this will help them work on another, because I have a feeling there's talent there. They just, you know what I mean? I don't want to put them down. They'd be like, well, here, you make a damn movie then.
Listen,
if I could, I would.
whoever that cinematographer is,
Yeah.
that would be the one to watch for me.
And I think the writer, you could tell, put aside the acting, throw all that shit away. But I think the people that were involved in producing, direct, and the cinematographer, yeah, I could see that doing, and to be fair, I want to make sure I say this real quick too. You could tell, I mean, come on, when they took that girl and turned into a human pretzel, yeah, it was silly. It was Evil Dead-ish, 2-ish, but there was Chris didn't even talk about this, and I won't get into it too much. A log splitter. Oh my God.
You know what I didn't like about that? I think I could kind of tell whenever he'd walk in front of the camera, clearly would go black. I think those were separate takes,
which was done well.
Yeah.
It was set up wisely because the guy who was his victim, before he takes him to this log splitter, he pretty much paralyzes him. He can't move at all. He literally, he breaks his spine. So he has no control moving anything, but still, let's just put it this way. He removes one limb and then he gets to the point where he puts his head up on there, which was done pretty damn well for a low budget film. Because I'm sitting there, I'm watching, I'm like, okay, when's it going to look, when are they going to cut to a different camera angle to where you see like a different perspective where now you see the dummy's head being cut off? But they didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that I give them kudos. It looked really like, wow. I was impressed with that.
I thought that was going to be so much worse.
Yeah.
Like I literally thought he was going to put him up on it flat and like Terrifier style, like go up through his groin.
That would be art style,
completely in half.
Yeah. Art the Clown would have done that in a heartbeat.
What I thought.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So if I were to give this, since we don't have that list, I wish I did right now. I have another. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Because Chris did come up with
level 1, whatever level 1 is.
Yeah, level 1
Biden economy. I don't remember.
That was Fuel.
Fuel. Okay.
I think so.
I wouldn't waste my gas.
I know I had that image.
Okay.
Yeah. Do not waste your gas to go see this film. If you could see it for free, yeah, why not? It's got some fun moments in it. It's like I said, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but what really sucked for myself personally, as I'm sitting next to Chris and Chris brought his wife and I've had my son, I went ahead and get the big thing of popcorn because I have a discount rate because I'm doing the whole whatever. I thought, get that if everybody wants some. That popcorn was terrible. That was the first time in years I had it was like, what is this shit, like 5 days old? It was terrible. So terrible popcorn for a mediocre film. Yeah. I know I'm not going to sit down and watch it when it's on Shudder. That's for sure. But I do want to recommend for any of you out there, I'm not going to play the trailer right now because it'll just expand this podcast. I know it sounds kind of fucked up because it's, it's date night with the girls, but Chris, if anyone out there, I'll put a link in the description box or at least the comment section. There is a film coming out July 5th from A24. It's called Maxine, I believe. And that trailer looks phenomenal. Kevin Bacon's in it. And the actress who's played at X and Pearl, it's 1985. That's when it's basically shot. And apparently it has these, oh shit, what was his name? The slasher from in LA and back. Oh god damn it. What was his?
Yeah.
Based on a true. I feel bad because
Night Stalker.
Yeah, thank you. The Night Stalker. I mean, the trailer itself. I mean, Chris and I bitch about trailers showing way too much. This one, it shows you stuff, but it's like Where is it going at?
I have seen that. Yeah, she's like a. She's. How do I say this respectfully? She's like
A
an
porn.
aspiring porn star.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no other way to put that.
Back in the day, like if you had watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that is true. In fact, even around here, but it was obviously in Hollywood glamorized even more with the films. Or even if you've watched anything that had anything to do with the, I'm just trying to help people out there that are younger. They didn't have a problem with that back in the day of showing X-rated films, at major theaters. I mean, hell, they had them around here in Dayton, Ohio. They had a drive-in by Wright-Patterson. I'm sorry, the Air Force Base. There was it Sky Drive-In? They showed X-rated films there, right across the street from the Air Force Base. You couldn't see that anymore, but yeah.
Nope.
So yeah, I'll give this movie a 1.1. Don't waste your fuel.
What's that 0.1 for?
Just to give credit for the cinematography. And that really, I gave that a low when I really appreciated the cinematography on it. So actually, I'll give it a 1.5 that way, because I like the fact that they tried something a little different. It just, it is what it is. It is what it is. We try to have fun with it, but it was a disappointment, unfortunately. So, but if you guys like some silly slashing shit, you might love this movie. That's for sure. Or if you love pretzels and you like seeing human beings getting messed up, there is a scene for you. That's for sure.
I got nothing. I got no closing. Got no closing arguments, man. I wish he hadn't have showed his fucking face.
Yeah, that was a huge that ended the movie right there. And his face is not pretty, but I think if anybody that are fans of the slashers, especially like say Halloween, you totally get it. So totally. Well, Chris, I think we should put this baby to bed. Thank you, Chris, for at least thank the girls. Please thank them for me so we could sit down and talk about this. And anyone out there that's upset about my video quality, I apologize. Hopefully I didn't kill my Canon.
Well,
I can't.
Then they need to hit the subscribe button and maybe send us some money for a new camera then.
I don't want to think about that right now. Hit that subscribe. I'll try to get some videos back up on Rumble. Listen to us on your favorite podcasting app. And Chris, thank you once again for the glasses. I really appreciate. I have 3 of them now, even though you only see one, but got to wash them. I will see you soon. I know Chris has got some stuff to show you down the road, but you're just going to have to come check that out. It's mask related stuff. Can I say that at least?
You see those empty spots? There's some empty spots, ladies and gentlemen.
There's one I'm
got some content coming.
Yeah, yeah. Mask take 2.
Stay tuned.
There we go.
That's going to be our outro now. Hit that button.
Chris and I would like to thank you for watching or listening to Meet Us in the Man Cave. Since you enjoyed watching us, make sure that you tell all your friends and family to subscribe to Meet Us in the Man Cave here on YouTube. Make sure you click on that notification bell. That way you're notified on our next video podcast or live stream video. Better yet, if you appreciate freedom of speech and oppose of censorship for content creators, make sure you follow Meet Us in the Man Cave on Rumble. Are you on Discord? Well, Meet Us in the Man Cave's there. Come and hang out with us. You can find and follow Meet Us in the Man Cave on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. And as always, you can listen and download Meet Us in the Man Cave on your favorite podcasting app. Available to stream or download so you can listen all you want, whenever you want. For more information, go to meetusinthemancave.podbean.com.